Hello, welcome back to my sewing room. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to answer 5 questions without editing. I was tagged by Whitney at Tomcat Stitchery, and she did a video on answering 5 questions without editing, and she tagged me and other sewing YouTube channels to try this out too. And she got it from Lyndsey Johns from Inside the Hem started this challenge. So here we go. The first question is, what has your sewing journey looked like? When did you start sewing? Who taught you? And were there any breaks? Well, my sewing journey started when I was young. When I first got interested, my mom sewed a lot at home, and I could always wake up in the morning hearing that sewing machine just whirring early in the morning. It's when she liked to get up and sew. But I didn't really pay much attention to it at that age. I was fascinated a little bit. I've always loved art and creative things, but didn't think I could do it. And when I was in 9th grade, I saw 2 girls come to school with t-shirts that they had cut the 2 different color t-shirts and sewn them together like a color block. And I was fascinated, and I wish I could go back and tell that former Robyn that ask them to teach you. Ask them, they'd probably show you how to do that. I was fascinated, but I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could learn. And then fast forward to high school, I was watching a fashion show at high school from the girls that did home economics class. And I was fascinated. They were modeling these beautiful dresses and bathing suits that they made, and I was just fascinated, and I wanted to learn that so bad. But in my head, I was thinking, oh, you can't do that. Now that I'm older, I'm like, you should have went and asked the teacher or asked the girls, someone to teach you. So, but I did go home and ask my mom, and she tried teaching me, but she had no patience. She would sit me down at the sewing machine, and I would sew a little bit and make a mistake, and then she would say, get up, let me fix it. So I needed to learn by fixing my own mistakes. And also the way she sewed, because she was fabulous. She could sew amazing. She made me beautiful sundresses and made dresses for her grandchildren and did all kinds of things. But she would just take the fabric and just put it on the machine to sew it. She wouldn't iron a hem or fold the hem or use pins. And that was just very frustrating to me. My personality, I'm more detailed. I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like, I can't do this. But I didn't know then about folding over and ironing the hem. I found that out later, but at that time she would just put the fabric under the thing and just fold it over and keep trucking, just go, no pins, nothing. And she could do that. That was her personality, but it didn't work for me. So I didn't learn. So I just gave up. And then when I had children and I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids, and I wanted to learn to sew, my mom gave me one of her old sewing machines, and I actually learned to make a couple of pin cushions and like a little pillow. And I was teaching my kids how to make pin cushions and make little pillows and stuff. But that didn't last very long because I got busy with life and had another baby, and so just got busy and didn't get to sew much then. And then when my kids were about in high school, my sister-in-law was sewing curtains for my mother-in-law, and I was watching her and kind of helping her a little bit, and I was fascinated with it. And so she showed me how to sew a straight seam, and then one day she showed me how to sew a gusset in a bag to make the bag sit flat. And I was like, whoa, this is like life-changing to me. I was fascinated, and I just went to the library and got books on all kinds of sewing and watched every kind of sewing show on TV that I could find, like Sewing with Nancy and whatever else I could find. And I would videotape them on my VHS and watch them over and over again and take notes and go and learn how to sew. And then when YouTube came along, I was thrilled because I could actually go on there and type in exactly what I wanted to learn, what kind of stitch, or how to quilt this or how to quilt that or how to sew this. And I was like, I could actually get exactly what I wanted to learn to do and actually see it, which I like to see. I'm a visual learner, and actually doing helps me to learn. And so I'm pretty much self-taught and was so excited. YouTube I just watched it more than TV. I love YouTube. It's taught me how to sew. It's taught me how to watercolor. It taught me how to acrylic paint. It's taught me how to play my ukulele. It's taught me so many things. So I was just fascinated and just took off from there. And as soon as my son graduated and left the house, I turned his room into a sewing room. And it never stopped. As you can see, I have so much stuff. My husband says I have too much, but it's never enough, right, ladies? So let's see, what's the next question? Number 2, describe your sewing space, where it is, and do you keep a hot mess or spick and span? Well, this is my sewing room. It's actually mostly a sewing room with one little day bed over here for our company. But right now it's a mess because I've been getting ready for a craft show I'm doing next month. And in the middle of doing that, I decided to do a YouTube channel. So now I had to move that over to the side and get out my phone and try to find a way to film videos in here, stacking boxes upon boxes to do the overhead shots. That was crazy, but it worked. And so my sewing room is usually pretty organized. I like folding all my fabric up there. It makes it easier to see and pull in and out. And but right now it's a hot mess because I'm getting ready for a craft show and I'm filming a YouTube channel, which I've never done before. And that's another thing YouTube taught me, how to do a YouTube channel. So I love watching all you other YouTube channels out there and seeing how you do, and that inspires me. And that's kind of how I got started watching. I was watching, oh, I knew this would happen doing without editing. Andra Sews. I was watching her and she interviewed Jen at Jen's Today in Jen's Sewing Room, and that's what inspired me to start my YouTube channel, because I watched all the interviews she did with all the people and I got inspired. And so I just gung-ho. I said, enough waiting around. I waited for years and years and years, and I'm like, I'm gonna just punch fear in the face and do it. And that's what I did, because no matter what you do, your first videos are the worst. So I'm just gonna do it and move on and get better as I go along. So that's what I did. And let's see, I kind of got off track there. Let's see, number 3, what is it like to be a sewing YouTuber? Does it meet your expectations? Is it how you thought it would be? Yeah, I've only been doing YouTube for about 4 weeks, almost 5 weeks, and it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I had no idea how long editing would take. I've never edited anything in my life or filmed, you know, things like this, but I love it. I love it. I love being able to share my love of sewing and be creative and have people like it and watch it and comment. It's like, it's a thrill. It's like so exciting. But I love it. It's like, I've had other jobs before in my life, but this job I truly love. And I look forward to doing it. And even the editing, my first video I edited, it took me 6 hours because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd have to stop and watch YouTube on how to edit, how to do this, how to do that. But I loved it. And I was I would just like wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, a video idea, or things like that. And that's never happened to me, that I love a job like this. So it's hard, and I'm not making any money right now, but I'm having fun, and just excited to see my channel grow, and I'm getting subscribers and people watching. So I love that. And when I tell people what I'm doing, I've told a few, and they're just very supportive and surprised that shy Robyn is doing this. But I'm having fun because I get to talk about what I'm passionate about, and that's what kind of like what we told our kids. Find something in life you're passionate about and do it. And they're doing that, and I'm so happy for them. And now I'm getting to do something I'm passionate about. I've been so passionate about sewing for years and years, and to be able to share it with others that love it too. And their eyes don't glaze over when I talk about sewing. So this has been really fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And if you're thinking about having a YouTube channel, just do it. Like I said, like they all told me, like, your first videos are always going to be your worst videos. So just hit the record button and do it. And let's see, what else? Describe your most memorable project. Let's see. My most memorable project is a quilt that I made. I never had made a quilt before, and I used YouTube then, of course, to teach me how. And when my mom passed away in 2009, I was determined to make a quilt out of her clothes, even though I had no idea what I was doing. So I just took all her clothes, got all her pastel color clothes, because I love pastel colors, as you could tell. And my whole house is like that. So I wanted it to match my house so I could keep it out in the living room all the time. And so I cut up her clothes into little 4-inch squares. Had no idea what I was going to do with them. And then I just looked at them all, and I'm like, I have tons of blue, so let me just make a 9 patch. I think that's what I found. And so I made 9 patches, and I sewed all her clothes into this quilt. It's kind of a lap quilt. It's not huge, but it's a nice size. You can see it. But I made this quilt out of my mom's clothes, and it means so much to me. And then on the back, I put a sheet with roses, because she loved roses and I love roses. And I did Stitch in the Ditch. And I had to go to YouTube to figure out how to put on, I already forgot what this is called, but you guys know what it is. To put the binding on, yes. And so step by step, it took me 10 months, but I made it, and it was very therapeutic to do this. After I was grieving my mom so immensely, and now I just love this quilt. I curl up in it when I miss her, and I just feel like she's hugging me. And when I'm sick, I curl up with it, and this means so much that I was able to sew this quilt. I wish she could have seen me make my first quilt. She saw me make curtains and pillows and all that, and she was very proud of me for that. And I love being able to share that with her, because she loves sewing too. And then I finally did, as I got older, be able to do it. And so I know she would be so proud of me that I could do this. And I've only made one other quilt. I'm not much of a quilter, but I love doing more home dec and making bags and things like that. So that was my most memorable, to be able to finish this and actually have a quilt I can use and love and just cherish. So, oh, and there was one other thing I meant to show you in the beginning when I was learning to sew. This is a little apron that my mom made me when I was 3 years old. And I don't know if you can recognize this, but this fabric she got was a flour sack. Back in the day, you could buy flour, and it would come with fabric. And so she used this fabric to make me a little apron. It is so sweet. And look at this little heart button. So this is really, really old. And I can't wait to have a granddaughter and be able to take her picture in this. So I can still remember standing there with my mom when she was holding this up to me, when she was making it for me. And I had this hanging in my kitchen. I just cherish it so much. And just the beautiful stitching that my mom did. It was just so beautiful. I love this. So I just wanted to share that. And let's see, what was the last question? Sorry, my screen went off. Okay. And what is one quote or saying or piece of advice you've gotten that resonates with your sewing and YouTube success? I have a couple. When I was watching, Think Media, they said just hit record and just do it, and that's what I did. You just got to do it. Don't think about it too much, because I overthink things, and I thought about this for like 8 to 10 years before I decided to record. And I'm so glad I did. I wish I would have done it sooner, but I'm glad I'm doing it now. And another thing, I always had this verse on my sewing machine, but that sewing machine broke. But this verse I love. God, let your beauty and favor be upon me. Confirm and establish the work of my hands. Psalms 90:17. I love that. And then the other thing I have is this necklace I made. It says, when I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. Psalms 56:3. And I made that to wear on an airplane ride because I hadn't flown in 30 years. And I wanted to go to Texas to see my grandson. So I did it, and I wore this to remind myself just to trust him and to have peace about flying. And it worked. So anyway, I think that's my 5 questions. If any of you are sewing YouTubers out there, then I challenge you to do the 5 questions with 1 take. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Y'all have a so blessed day. Bye for now.